Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on where you are. This is Nagesh Nama. I'm the CEO of XLM Continuous Intelligence. The topic of discussion today is cTM, which is continuous temperature mapping. The first question is you might ask, what is temperature mapping? Agreed. Temperature mapping is a mundane task that must be accomplished wherever you're storing your products, your pharmaceutical products. It could be a warehouse, it could be a cold room, it could be a refrigerator, for example. So we need to ensure that if it has some kind of a storage specs, a pharmaceutical company has to ensure that those requirements are met and it has to be validated. So that's why temperature mapping becomes important. It's not only for new facilities, but also for when there are changes to facilities. And typically it's done every 3 or 4 years also, because the drift always happens. So that's a quick background on temperature mapping. Now, what are we going to discuss today? First of all, I just would like to highlight the experience and the history behind our AI-based app, cTM, which is continuous temperature mapping. XLM has, over the last 2.5 decades, has performed temperature mapping at over 100 facilities throughout the world. On the large side, we have temperature mapped warehouses that are as large as 1.4 million square feet. On the smaller side, we have mapped various cold rooms, refrigerators, stability chambers, autoclaves, you name it. So we have extensive experience on the consulting side, providing temperature mapping as a service. By doing so many consulting projects, we have a good knowledge base and we have a good methodology also of conducting this for major pharmaceutical companies throughout the world. Now, we took that because doing the conventional way, there are not that many companies providing this service. B, out of the very few, among them, the very few do it very well. So we wanted to change that. We took our experience performing temperature mapping for various customers all over the world, and we wanted to bring that to 2025. So we decided to build agentic AI-based app called cTM so that temperature mapping goes from a boring, difficult, time-consuming, manual intensive task to a task that can be performed very easily. I'm going to show it to you. It can be really performed in minutes or hours, and everything can be done through absolute automation. That's the agenda for today. I'm very excited about it. I'm going to walk you through our cTM. Why cTM? And we'll do a live demo so that you can yourself see. Before we start, I just would like to go through a couple of slides to set the stage for cTM so you can understand how it's done today and how does cTM solve the problem. So a couple of minutes and I'll blitz through the presentation. This is the status quo. Typically you write a protocol for temperature mapping and the protocol lays out all the rules to conduct the study. Then you set up your sensors, the sensors are installed in the facility per the grid that's in the protocol. And next, you have the study for 8 days, 14 days, depending on the protocol. And during that study, typically data is not available. The typical loggers that are used, it records the data, but it's not transmitted to the cloud or any other platform. Once the study is done, the sensors are taken down, then data is uploaded, and all the data is brought into a typical spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet, which has all the calculations. Then somebody has to review all the data, make sure everything is good, perform the analysis, then come up with the findings for that particular study, write the summary report, and here you go. After that, reviews and approval. That is the typical thing. It's many steps and very inefficient. It's a manually intensive task and also prone to errors because there's so many manual steps. Now comes in cTM. So the way it's going to work is after the protocol is written, the loggers, which are NIST calibrated loggers, are shipped to the client site, and the customer can easily set them up because there are credit card size loggers that are RF, and we also ship the gateway that can connect to the internet via the Ethernet or the cellular network. So we have many options here. Then once the loggers are placed, the data will automatically be streamed to our cloud, and data is comes in. As soon as it comes in, anybody, the customer can log into the portal and see the data coming in. Then everything is automated in the background. It does all the calculations, the modeling, and it lets you look at the data in real time and during the study. Then after the study is done, you can push a button, you get the report. From the customer's point of view, there's not much to be done except place the loggers, and that's it. Everything happens pretty much touch of a button, no manual steps, very minimal manual steps. That means no errors plus real-time visibility. Here is how the data will flow. As already I've explained, the RF sensors generate the data. They also store certain number of data locally in case there's a network loss. It can. We have technology for backfilling, meaning data is never lost. Then it goes to the cloud. Then we have built the entire infrastructure in the cloud, which, by the way, it's all qualified. It has many layers. It has the bronze layer where the raw data is never touched, never manipulated. It's always in read-only mode. Then we have the silver layer, which does some transformations to support the visualization and the modeling. And then you have the ultimate gold layer, which is consumed by the model layer. So all this is done automated, and you don't have to worry about it. All you have to do is log in and visualize the data. So the question is, before I get into the demo, what is the ROI? So we can guarantee you that the overall cost of temperature mapping is greater than 80%. Minimum 80%, definitely greater than 80%. From a cycle times, you will save more than 90% of the time. And there's reduced risk of compliance and a deviation risk, and everything is audit trailed, and you have party loan compliant study conducted with all the reports you'll ever need. That's the magic of cTM. This is the homepage of the cTM app where you can create dashboards. Dashboards lets you look at the data associated with your study. It gives you all the charts, the data tables that you'll need to look at your study in real time, and also generate a final report at the end of the study. You can create many dashboards for a single study. For example, you might want the dashboard number 1 to include everything, all the loggers that are part of the study. You might create another dashboard just to focus on a subset of the loggers. For example, it could be a particular area within your facility that you want to focus on, a particular room. So you can create the dashboards. The create dashboard wizard is a very simple 5-step process where you select the loggers you would like to visualize. You also upload the fixed sensor data. You decide on your grouping, meaning which logger is associated with which particular EMS or the fixed sensor. You can do the grouping, and then you can create your dashboard. It takes a few seconds to create the dashboard. So let me open up a dashboard that's already been created. So this is for Apollo Biotech, and it is for a warehouse study. So right now it's talking to the backend to retrieve all the data. It just takes about 10 to 15 seconds to get all the data and present all the graphs for you. So you're looking at all the loggers that I have selected for this dashboard, and it will show you the highest recorded temperature among the loggers, the lowest recorded temperature. It also shows you the t-test results, which is a statistical test to ensure that there is a good correlation between the logger data and the associated fixed sensors. If there is a major discrepancy, then the t-test number is going to be much higher than 0. You can also select not just one sensor, but maybe one or more sensors, basically. And all the dashboards will reflect data associated with only those 2 loggers. I'm only looking at the temporary loggers right now. I just disabled this feature, the filter. So you are looking at all the different loggers here. You can control the date range. Then this gives you the logger graph. You can manipulate the graph also here to focus on the area that of any interest to you. So it's very interactive. You will see all the features here. for the particular graph. And you can also look at the raw data. In this case, there are about approximately 20,000 records here. Then it also gives you by day for every logger the basic statistics like minimum, maximum, and average. So that's presented in this temporary loggers page. When you go to the fixed sensors, similar data, among the fixed sensors, you'll see the highest and lowest. You can select any of the fixed sensors that you want to look at it. Right now, we have selected all of the fixed sensors. The date range, similarly, that the line graphs for the temperature, the raw data, as well as min, max, average for every fixed sensor that's within the scope. If you go to the temperature mapping section, now it's comparing the data, like every fixed sensor has one or more, may have one or more data loggers associated with it, meaning they're in the space so that you can evaluate within that space if the fixed sensor represents the temperature within that. So typically what happens is if you have a fixed sensor and you will take laterally X number of feet, let's say about 50 feet, if it's a big warehouse, and also you'll take the vertical height, and so you'll, let's say 5 plus or minus 5 feet. So if you look at the fixed sensor, you'll create a virtual area, which is 50 feet on either side and 5 feet, on the vertical side, plus or minus 5 feet on the vertical side. That means in this virtual space, the fixed sensor will represent the temperature within that space within plus or minus, let's say, 2 degrees. So that's the grouping you will do here. And you need to make sure that the placement of the fixed sensor is accurate and it represents the temperature within that space within a certain tolerance level. So if I select the fixed sensor, now the grouping has already been done, and it will show you the results, meaning it will show you the temperature line graphs, but as well as the deviations. So if the deviation is more than plus or minus 2 degrees, then maybe we need to look into it. Maybe the EMS sensor is not placed at the right location. Maybe there's a problem with the loggers, or there's something else going on in this space. So in this case, if you look at it, some of those are more than 2 degrees. And that's the reason, the test has failed here. The test has failed. So this is the main thing that we'll be looking for in temperature mapping is the trends of the loggers, and also to make sure that the fixed sensors are located in the right location. Needless to say, you'll also look for the hot and cold spots within the facility. And that's what these recommendations is all about. Our ML model analyzes the data in real time and gives you a lot of recommendations. Some of it is just observations. Some of it is recommendations based on the data, so that you have the AI doing its magic here. You can also download the report, and once you download the report, it gives you the report that you will need to close out the study and prepare the summary report. And that's an Excel file that is protected. What you're seeing here is chat with data. So why did we actually create this feature? So we wanted you to chat with any of the data, the raw data that is temporary and fixed, and also any of the modeling data that's there. You should be able to chat with data. The reason is, of course, you have the dashboards that gives you everything you need to conduct the study. But if you have something more than that, something that is not already programmed, you should be able to chat with it using natural language. For example, if you want to ask what is the highest temperature, it will automatically give you that. Next, you might want to ask what is the highest temperature for a particular sensor. It will give you that. These are just some examples. If you want to plot a graph, something that's not on the dashboard, shown on the dashboard, you can easily plot a graph. And these graphs are interactive. You can zoom in, zoom out. You can do everything that you typically do with a particular graph. You can even ask questions like, what are the total number of records exceeding a certain temperature? It will give you the answer. So this is a very powerful feature where you can chat with the data using natural language. At any given point in time or at the end of the study, you can just push a button, say generate the report for the study, and the system will on the fly create an Excel report with all the calculations you will need to write your summary report. This is what you're looking at. It's a locked Excel file that has all the information. This is the cover page. And if you go to the temporary data, it gives you the raw data that is in this particular worksheet. And this shows you all the analysis. It gives you for every logger by day, it gives you your max min average calculations. Same thing it does for the fixed data, where you have the raw data, then you have the analysis that's performed for the fixed data, similar to the logger data. Then the last and the final one is very important. For every fixed sensor, there are a bunch of loggers that comes within within the range of that fixed sensor, and you need to calculate the deviations. It does calculate it and gives you whether it's a pass or a fail. So all this is done. So this is what you need to close out your study and write a summary report. And we make it very easy for the report to be generated within a minute or two at any point in time during the study or at the end of the study.